Have you ever stopped to wonder why you get hungry or sleepy or feel sharp and focused at pretty much the same time every single day? Well, that is definitely not a coincidence. Deep inside almost every cell in your body, there's this tiny, ancient clock ticking away, governing all the hidden rhythms of your life. So let's pull back the curtain and figure out exactly how this incredible molecular clock actually works. And really, that's the core question, isn't it? Forget your phone alarm, forget the sun going down. Something internal is pulling the strings, telling your body it's time to wind down for the night. So what is that something? Well, to figure it out, scientists first had to solve a really strange little puzzle. Take a look at this. This is what scientists first found, this very strange delay. You see that black line? That represents a gene's activity. Think of it as the instructions being sent out. It peaks right in the middle of the day. But then look at the blue line. That's the protein that's actually built from those instructions, and it doesn't peak until hours later, deep into the night. It's kind of like sending an urgent email that doesn't even arrive for half a day. This lag, well, that was the central mystery. Because here's the secret, that delay isn't a bug in the system, it's the most important feature. The whole trick was figuring out what exactly is happening in that gap, and how that specific delay is the key to creating a perfect, self-sustaining 24-hour cycle. And this is where the real detective work began. The answer, as it turns out, is this just incredibly elegant, self-winding mechanism. See, the clock doesn't need someone to wind it up every day. It basically winds itself, using a really cool concept that you see in both engineering and biology. It's called a negative feedback loop. The easiest way to think about it is like the thermostat in your house. The furnace kicks on to produce heat. Once the room gets warm enough, that heat, which is the end product, sends a signal back to the thermostat, telling it to shut the furnace off. The system regulates itself. Well, our cells do the exact same thing, just on a molecular scale. So here's how that plays out in our cells. A clock gene gets turned on and it starts making its specific clock protein. But here's the really clever part. Once enough of that protein builds up, it literally circles back and physically blocks its own gene from making any more. It tells itself to stop. This simple on-off switch is the absolute heart of our internal timer. But, in biology, it's rarely that simple, right? To get the timing just right, it takes a bit more than just one gene and one protein. Our cells use a small cast of molecular characters, and each one has a very specific role to play in this daily drama. So, on one side, you have the promoters, a pair of proteins called clock and cycle. You can think of them as the on switch. Their job is to bind to our DNA and kickstart the whole process. And on the other side, you've got the repressors, two proteins called per and tim. They are the off switch. Their job is to build up, team up, and then go back and shut the whole operation down. So how does all of this add up to a full day? Well, when you put all these players on the stage together, their interactions create this beautiful circular dance. And the time it takes for the promoters to get going, for the repressors to slowly build up, and then for those repressors to go back and shut everything down, well, that entire cycle takes just about 24 hours. Let's just walk through this cycle. So, step 1. In the morning, clock and cycle switch on the genes for per and tim. Then, steps 2 and 3, all through the day, the cell starts building up those per and tim proteins out in the main part of the cell. This slow buildup, that's our crucial delay we were talking about. Okay, then step 4, as night starts to fall, these individual proteins find each other and pair up. Now for step 5, this new power couple, the per-tim pair, is finally able to get into the cell's command center, the nucleus. And then the grand finale, step 6. Once they're inside, they find clock and cycle and block them, shutting down their own production. The cycle is complete, and it won't start over until per and tim naturally break down, letting clock and cycle get back to work the next morning. Now, having this amazing 24-hour clock inside you is great, but it's pretty useless if it isn't synced up with the actual 24-hour day, right? Your internal clock has to know what time it is in the real world, and to do that, it uses cues from the environment, mostly light and temperature. The sun is, without a doubt, the master reset button. When light hits your eyes in the morning, it triggers a signal that helps break down one of those repressor proteins, TIM. This basically forces a daily reset, making sure that your internal morning actually lines up with the sunrise. It keeps the off switch from sticking around too long and lets the on switch get the day started right on time. Temperature is a bit more of a subtle tuner. As it turns out, our cells actually have tiny sensors that can detect changes in warmth and cold. For instance, scientists found that in fruit flies, colder days actually lead to more activity during the day. Why? Because the lower temperature makes the production of their PER protein a little more efficient. It's a clever way for the clock to make small adjustments based on the season.
But, and this is absolutely crucial, while temperature can nudge the clock, it doesn't break it. If you get a fever or step outside on a freezing cold day, your core body clock doesn't suddenly speed up or grind to a halt. It is remarkably stable and resistant to being thrown off course, which is exactly what you want from a reliable timekeeper.
So we've got this ancient, incredibly stable, and honestly beautiful molecular clock humming away inside of us. It has evolved over millions of years to keep every part of us in sync with the rotation of our planet, which brings us to a very modern and kind of urgent question.
Because you see, this system isn't just a human thing. Not even close. Some version of the same elegant feedback loop, this dance of proteins turning each other on and off, is the fundamental timekeeper for pretty much all complex life on Earth. It's what tells a flower when to open its petals and a fungus when to release its spores. It is that fundamental.
And that leaves us with this one big final thought. These clocks of ours, they were built over millennia for a world with a clear, predictable rhythm of light and dark, warm and cool. But what happens now in our world of 24/7 artificial light, of constant indoor temperatures, of jet lag? What are the consequences when this ancient, life-sustaining rhythm falls completely out of sync with the modern world we've built around it? That's something worth thinking about.